Hi, I'm Daniel Brown. I'm the CEO of Myriad Real Estate Group, and this is going to be our March market update. So for the greater Phoenix area, we are hovering right around 13,000 active listings on the market. So we are actually starting to see inventory rise, but very slowly. And that has more to do with the fact that mortgage rates are hovering around 7%. 7% seems to be that line in the sand where inventory starts to grow, and that's because it takes longer for homes to sell, not because more homes are coming to the market. So homes are coming to the market at kind of the standard rate, but because it's taking longer for homes that are on the market to sell, we start to see a buildup in that inventory, and the average days on market tends to start to increase. At 7%, there's less buyers in the market, so that demand comes down. So that's allowing this inventory to grow, which is actually a good thing. We do want to see an increase in inventory in our local market here. That's going to give buyers more options that are in the market, and that's just going to make for a healthier real estate market. So it's important for buyers to have options because as a buyer, you don't want to feel like you're forced to purchase something that you don't actually like, right? So when we only had 3,000 homes on the market, which was the low for Greater Phoenix, we had individuals that were making obscene offers for homes that were in poor locations just because they wanted to get into a house. They were making huge sacrifices on things that they wanted just in order to have a home. And you're spending a ton of money on a home, so you want to check as many of those boxes as you possibly can. And so having those options just gives you the ability to take your time, make sure that you're making the right decision. You know, real estate's all about location, so making sure that the home that you're buying is in a good location. And it just makes for a better transaction and a better experience overall when you have those choices. So where's the market headed? This week we're going to see the PCE number come out on Thursday. So this video is probably going to come out after that fact. And so that is what the Fed is really paying close attention to for inflation. Everybody talks about CPI, but it's really PCE that the Fed pays the closest attention to in terms of overall inflation numbers. So if that comes in hotter than expected, we can expect mortgage rates to go higher. If that comes in softer than expected and inflation is continuing to cool, then hopefully we'll see mortgage rates moderate and kind of come back down. So this entire market is all interest rate driven right now. 7% seems to be that line in the sand. Earlier this year, all of last year when rates were kind of in the mid sixes, the number of transactions was low, but we did see a functioning housing market. When rates got to 8% last year, the housing market broke and was basically at a standstill, and not many people were doing anything at all. Not many people were selling, very few people were buying, and it was just frozen. This year we got into the mid sixes, which was great, and we saw things start to moderate and to move. Well, now that we're above 7%, we're seeing things really slow down. Again, that is why we're seeing an increase in inventory, because there's less buyer demand. So as long as rates stay above that 7%, expect to see moderation in home values. So I think that home values will remain very flat, just like they did last year if we see mortgage rates above 7%. I do not see a drop in home values. It'll just remain relatively flat. If mortgage rates fall and get into the mid to low sixes, we will see home values increase and continue to go up because that buyer demand will be there, right? So it's all just based on supply and demand. Watching this video, we are in the very early days of March, so we are in the thick of the Phoenix spring selling season. Other markets throughout the country are just now starting to get into their spring season. As the temperatures warm, snow melts, people are going to be getting back out into the market. Obviously in Phoenix, we don't have that issue, so our spring selling season starts earlier, but we're in the thick of it. And it's going to be very house specific. So I've got some, anecdotal evidence. We've got a buyer that's closing right now where there was no competition for the home, first-time home buyer, and we were able to get $20,000 in concessions out of the seller. So that's buying their rate down, covering 100% of their closing costs, and then the home's appraising for $5,000 more than what we're under contract at. So they're essentially getting $25,000 total out of the sellers, which I don't think that we would be able to do in a different market. But the other part is true, where good homes that are priced accurately are seeing multiple offers. We had 3 buyer clients this week all get beat out, different homes, different locations, slightly different price points, because the homes were priced accurately, they were priced to move, they got multiple offers, and the price was bid up. So it's going to be very situational. So I think that buyers should expect when a home is priced accurately, when it looks good, there's probably going to be multiple people interested in the home, because while inventory is increasing, it's still suppressed. Those homes that have been listed for a long time, that there might be something wrong with it in terms of location, it's not all pretty and it might need some updating. Those homes I think that you can be more aggressive on and definitely negotiate to get the sellers to contribute towards your closing costs. If rates come down, the first thing that disappears from the market are seller concessions. Sellers will stop contributing towards buyers' closing costs. They'll stop buying those rates down. So if you are a buyer in this market above 7%, you should have the ability in certain circumstances to be able to negotiate and negotiate aggressively. Now, which homes those are going to be, your agent should be reaching out to the listing agent, finding out what kind of traffic they've had on the home, do they have multiple offers on it already, and be prepared to find that information out so that you can decide on how aggressive you want to be in your offer writing and negotiating. What can sellers expect in this slightly higher rate environment that we find ourselves in, that nobody predicted that we would get into in 2024? So again, we are in that 7% range. You need to price your home where it should be priced at. You cannot overprice the home. If you do that, buyers are going to be aware of it, and it's just going to sit and it's not going to get a lot of interest. So you need to be priced appropriately. You need to be putting out a good product. So curb appeal matters, having the home clean and good condition matters, but mainly it comes down to that price and overall presentation. So in a higher rate environment, you have less buyers, they're going to be pickier, so you want to make sure that you're putting out a good product and that you're pricing it accurately. So what can buyers expect again in this higher rate environment above 7%? As long as we remain above 7%, you should have the ability to negotiate. It's going to be property specific. Again, we are seeing an increase in that inventory, but it is still suppressed. So there is going to be competition. When a home is priced accurately and looks good, assume that you're not the only one that's interested in it. If it's been on the market for longer than 30, 45 days, then you should have the ability to negotiate. You should be able to get concessions out of the seller. You know, I would rather pay a slightly higher price and get more in concessions from a seller, because 5-10 grand off the price is not going to make a huge dent on your mortgage payment, but 5-10 thousand plus in concessions, that's real cash in your pocket. So I would rather pay a slightly higher price for the home and get those concessions from the seller, because that's just going to make a bigger impact on your bottom line. So the theme to this entire video is the market that we find ourselves in is all just rate dependent. The market is super functional when we are in the low 6% range, and it becomes very stalled when we get north of 7%. So just as looking as a leading indicator, if you're a buyer or a seller, realize there's going to be more activity in the 6% and lower range than in the 7% or higher range. That tends to be the line in the sand. So whenever this video comes out and whatever rates are at, if rates are north of 7, less transactions, longer days on market, slower market in general. Sub 7% into those 6s, then we're going to see more activity. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to give a like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.